Hello everyone. Today I would like to welcome you to Week 6 Unit 2 Translation Management Tool. Translation Management Tool provides a framework to support the localization requirements for international deployments of the BOE tools. For example, if you have a multinational and multilingual company, for example, you have users in Germany, you have users in Japan, you have in China, India, anywhere in the world, they have requirements to view the reports in their own respective languages. That is where Translation Management Tool comes handy to assist you with a framework to translate the strings and distribute it to the users. The translation that they're done, basically once you export them back to the resources, they can be viewed when they have different locales by those users. I'm going to explain that further to you. One thing to note is that translations using the translation management tool can be done concurrently. Concurrent translation basically allows you to gain a lot of time in the translation process. A lot of translators can work in different locales at the same time. However, if you are having one locale, make sure that one translator is working on it at a time. If two translators work on the same locale at the same time, they may run into this problem of overriding each other's work. So be wary of that. There are two ways that you can translate documents. One of them is translate internally using the translation management tool to import a locally stored file and add the locale to translate. Once you have translated the content, you will export that file back to the source file, and the translation is going to be merged with the original file. The other way is to translate externally by exporting the TMGR file as an XLIF format, then distributing them for translation with any XLIF compliant tool. When translations are imported back into the original source, the translation management tool exports back only the locales that have been added by the translators with the translation management tool. These are added to the original resource or have been modified by the translator. And these are again, added to the original resource if there's no synchronization issues. Therefore, strings to translate can be sent to different translators who can translate them in parallel. And when translators export back their translations to the original resource, their export does not overwrite translations from other translators. And they can do their work in parallel and save a lot of time. This picture depicts the translation management tool's workflow pretty nice. It shows that the resources to translate are either in the repository or they are on your local folders. To translate, you import these strings to translate to the translation management tool. You can see in the picture. Then you have the option of either translate them directly inside the translation management tool or to export them to TMGR file or XLIF to basically translate them externally. I'll explain the TMGR and XLIF a bit later in this course. Once the translation is completed, you will export the translated strings back to either the repository or the local folders. These are the steps that you will need to take to translate successfully. You log on to the translation management tool if you exit, it will ask you to log on again to the repository. You select the resource, you retrieve the strings to translate, you add the new locales, you translate metadata in the new locales, export them back, and resolve the conflicts. I'm going to expand a bit on the resolving conflicts. So when you're exporting back the translated strings to the resource in the repository, a number of conflicts can occur. One of them is a string has been added in the original resource. The other one is a string has been removed from the original resource, or a string has been modified from the original resource. So when such conflicts happen, you get three options. You get the option to import updated content from the original resource. This is the recommended way. You get to cancel that translation export or to force translation export into the original resource. So let me launch the tool and show you how translation management is done. So this is the translation management tool. And let me show you, I have a report already here that I'm going to translate. You see there's no translation in it yet. So in the tool, I'm going to pull the strings. I'm going to go File, Import Strings to translate from System Repository. Since I'm logged in, I'm just going to select that report, the same report. You can see it's exactly the same one, and add it, and then finish. Simple. So now the tool is going to pull the strings to translate for you, all the strings that are translatable. Once you open it, it opens up in the category view. You want to be in the list view to do the translations. You see all the strings are listed now. Then you select a language. I'm going to choose Germany as an example. And when you select it, the language, to make it visible in BOE, you will need to select this visible. The property visible needs to be selected. Since I don't have any translations, you can see it gave you a column, a separate column for the German language. If you select any more languages, you will get different columns for them. So since I don't have any translations, I'm going to add a DE tag to it and pretend that this is translated now. And I'm going to add this tag to the rest of the strings. So here's one thing that I need to point out to you when you're using this tool. When you're in the last row of translation, or any row, until you exit that row, the translation has not happened. It's not effective in the tool. So when you export it back, if I didn't exit this row to here, that translation will not be exported back to CMS. So now that I have translated everything here, I'm going to basically go and export it back. So export the translated strings, and you see I get the success exported to CMS. Once that's done, I'll show you that translation actually happened. So you see I haven't refreshed it. You see the sales order for translation demo is in the original shape and name. Once I refresh it, you can see that it is actually translated. And if I view that, you can see the translated strings in the report. So you can see all of the strings that I translated, they're already in effect. So now I owe you the explanation for the TMGR and XLIF format. To exchange translation metadata between the translation management tool and translation server, a new file format has been introduced in bifour, which is the TMGR. This TMGR file is used to locally save the strings to translate and the translation of these strings. TMGR can be used to translate some resources located in the repository without being connected to the repository. So that's very important when you're overseas and you have a slow connection and you need to do translation. Maybe translation management tool directly would not be the best option, so you use the TMGR file format so you can do your work more efficiently and faster. Also, you're not using licenses as well to be connected to the repository. The TMGR file itself is in fact an extension of the XLIF format, but with some extensions for the translation management tool. And note that export to XLIF and import from XLIF can still be used to save translation metadata and send it to the external translators. In bifour, XLIF support has also been completely rewritten and different from the 3.x. With this, I am finishing my introduction to translation management tool for you. So I'm hoping that you can describe the new internationalization workflow in the translation management tool, know what concurrent translations are, listed different metadata that can be translated in bifour.x, and explain the TMGR file role. Thank you and see you soon.